Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto became the ultimate alpha of Konoha's legendary harem? Shizune, Kurenai, Anko, Yugao, Yakumo, Kyuubi, Femzetsu, Kin, Makoto, Tamari, Tenten, Yugito, Femhaku, Sasama, Hana and Sume, Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Karen looked around at the shocked villagers around them. Some of the men were holding their noses while many of the mothers were covering their children's ears while shooting death glares at Karen. She quickly flushed red out of embarrassment. Okay. Hold still, Karen-chan. This might hurt for a second. Wait, what are you going to do? Well, Oro-chan gave you that seal by biting your neck, right? To undo it, I need to do the same. That way I can inject my chakra into you to purify that seal. Karen nodded in acceptance. With that, Naruto plunged his fangs into Karen's shoulder and began to inject his chakra. Immediately, Karen began to howl. It shouldn't hurt that badly. Wait a second, that's not pain. Is she being turned on by this? Holy shit, she's a masochist and a screamer. Finally, the unsealing was over, and Karen stumbled, panting and sweating. Tayuya looked up from her fight. Oi, Karen, what the air you doing with our target? And why the hell are you grinning like a? Karen bared her shoulder, revealing the absence of the curse mark. Tayuya's eyes widened. Karen, your mark, it's gone. How did you do that? Karen smiled. Naruto-sama removed it for me, and now I am eternally indebted to Naruto-sama. She clung to Naruto's arm and stuck out her tongue at Tora, who looked ready to kill. Momentarily forgotten, Tayuya was able to sidle up to Naruto's side. Hey, can you take this piece of shit off my shoulder or can you not? Naruto blinked. Is that how you ask for favors? You do realize that I could just walk away, and you'd be no better off than before. If you asked politely, I'd consider it. Tayuya scowled. Nobody had ever calmly faced her after she swore at them. Some would spit in her face, some would run away, while others would match her language and engage her in verbal warfare. She glared at the blonde, who simply stared back, smiling. TCH, can you remove this seal? Naruto smirked. What's the magic word? Why you? Fine. Please. Gladly. Tayuya-chan. With that, Naruto bit into Tayuya's curse mark and started working to remove the seal. Unbelievable pain coursed through Tayuya's body, but she endured in hopes of being free from the seal. Besides, if he failed, she'd probably die and pass into the afterlife. Then she would to wait for Naruto to kick the bucket so she would be able to kick his. Suddenly, the pain disappeared, replaced by an overwhelming sensation of peace. Tayuya lightly fingered her shoulder where the curse mark had been. You really did it. It's gone. Thank you, Naruto. She gave Naruto a warm hug, which the blonde awkwardly returned, but Tora's flying kick to Tayuya's face ruined the fuzzy moment. What the air you doing to my Naruto-kun? My Naruto-kun, thought all four, but they all brushed that thought aside. I was thanking Naruto-kun for getting rid of my curse mark. If he proves to be as good as he looks, I might thank him more personally later. Why don't you do us all a favor and crawl into a hole and die, you worthless? While Tora and Tayuya fought once more, Karen latched onto Naruto's arm. So what's going to happen to Tayuya-chan and I, Naruto-sama? Naruto scratched his head in thought. Well, I could probably get Tsunade Bachan to instate you two as Konoha shinobi. You two can also stay at my place until you can find a place of your own. Naruto-sama is so kind. I've been meaning to ask, what's up with the Sama? It is because you are my new master. Naruto-sama, I am yours to command. I will do whatever you wish of me. Meanwhile, Tayuya and Tora were still engaging in a fierce verbal fight, ignorant of the gawking bystanders. Finally, a female voice and a blast of killer intent froze everyone in place. All of you need to shut the hell up. White-faced, Naruto turned to face a fuming Ino. Hi Ino, what's up? Naruto, who are these women? Well, the one over there is Tora. You know, the cat we used to chase as Genin. Those two are Karen and Tayuya, formerly of the Sound. I removed their curse seals for them and now they want to join Konoha. Ino's fierce demeanor slipped for a moment. Tayuya, Tora and Karen took advantage of the moment and clung to various parts of Naruto's body. Ino's eyes turned red. Get thee off my boyfriend, bitches. The three quickly complied, scampering away from Naruto with looks of utter terror on their faces. Now, I don't mind if you hang around my Naru-kun, especially because he's going to have a harem eventually. However, if you cause Naru-kun any trouble, I will make you suffer. Got it? The three kunoichi fearfully nodded. In the distance, Sasuke watched the proceedings with an eager eye. Where did Yamanaka get such power? Is the Dobi the key to becoming so powerful? With a smirk, Sasuke rushed off, busy concocting plans to seduce his former teammate. The last time Naruto entered Tsunade's office, he had come with news that Tora was actually a human under a botched henge. Thus, when Naruto came in with Tora and two high-ranking shinobi from the Sound wrapped around his body, Tsunade didn't even blink. Let me guess. Tora and Tayuya here got into a fight, and while that went on, Naruto removed the curse seal from Karen. Tayuya noticed and got Naruto to remove her curse seal. Then you three started to fight until Ino came and broke you apart. You two now want to become Konoha shinobi, which is why you are here right now. She's good. Oi, Bachin, you better not be spying on me with that crystal ball again. I caught Gigi peeking at the women in the hot springs a bunch of times. Tsunade started to make a mental note to peek on Naruto when he bathed, but then checked herself. What the hell was she thinking? Naruto was like a son to her, right? Besides, why would he want someone as old as her when there were plenty of women closer to his own age after him? Tsunade fought off a sudden feeling of sadness and loneliness. I've decided. Naruto, I trust your judgment regarding Tayuya and Karen. However, we still need to go through the usual procedure and run them through the interrogation department to make sure they aren't spies. But Bachin, don't worry, Naruto-kun. Those can't do anything to us. Naruto-sama, I am willing to spend years of interrogation for the privilege of spending an hour with you. A pair of Anbu members appeared in the office and escorted the ex-Sound duo out of the office, leaving Tora, Ino, and Naruto with Tsunade in the office. Well, Tora, do you have a place to stay? There are a few apartments out there, but for tonight, you'll need a place to stay. Tora jerked a thumb towards Naruto. Dumbass here said he'd give me a room in his house. I did. HMPH. Fine, I'll show you the way when leave. Tora cheered on the inside while maintaining her scowl on the inside. Okay, brats, get out of here, I've got work to do. Getting old, Bachin, why don't you just give that hat to me and let me take your job? TCH, you're still 100 years too young for this job. Hehe, that makes you how old, Bachin? Tsunade threw her desk at Naruto, who merely grabbed Ino and Tora by the waist and disappeared in a white flash. The trio appeared in front of the Namikaze compound, and Naruto stepped forward, sweeping his arm in a grandiose fashion. Well, here we are. Hope you like it. HMPH, at least it looks clean. Tora walked into the house and inspected the interior. While the former feline was prowling about, Naruto took Ino to the side. Ino-chan, We haven't had much time alone together. How about we go out on a date later tonight? I can pick you up at your house at 6. Ino nodded before grinning mischievously. Okay. I'm going to leave to prepare for our date, but you better make sure it's a good one. Oh, and about Tora, I don't really mind what you do with her, but remember, I get to be your first. With a wink, Ino ran off to her house to prepare for the date. Back at the Akatsuki base, Leader was fuming. His grand plan seemed to be falling to pieces. No matter what he tried, the now female members simply refused to listen to his orders. Just as he was about to say it all, and apply the seal himself, a voice stopped everyone in their tracks. Fighting, are we? Everybody turned to the source to see an pale, attractive figure step out from the shadows. What are you doing here? Zetsu pointed at the newcomer, pure black face contorted in rage. Ah, it's my grumpy alter ego. Thanks to that seal, I was able to finally break free. Too bad for you, huh? In a flash, a bright light engulfed Zetsu. When the light died down, a pile of smoldering ashes was all that remained. An awkward silence ensued as the remaining members warily regarded this mysterious stranger. I am the female half of Zetsu. However, do not treat me lightly, or I will destroy you. Understand? The Akatsuki members gulped and nodded. Maybe they should start following Leader Sama's orders before things got too out of hand. Ino was lost in her own fairy tale date with the prince of her dreams. When he showed up at her doorstep, he looked good enough to eat right there and then, even with her father sending half-hearted death glares at Naruto. He had taken her to the most expensive restaurant in Konoha, where they enjoyed a romantic candlelit dinner. Afterwards, they went on a walk through the Konoha park, idly chatting. Ino noticed the jealous looks thrown her way at having the Naruto as her date, and she reveled in the attention. The wind picked up and she started to shiver. Before she could say anything, she felt Naruto's jacket being draped around her shoulders, accompanied by his warm, strong arms. The couple continued like this, eventually settling on a bench. Finally, Ino decided to pounce and leaned over to whisper in Naruto's ear. Naru-kun, I believe that I told you that I wanted to be your first. Naruto gulped. Your place or mine? Mine. With a flash, Naruto and Ino disappeared, leaving an empty park bench in their wake. With a shimmer, a genjutsu was dropped, and 3 kunoichi phased into existence. Man, I can't take this anymore, Anko-chan. If I can't get my hands on that hot piece of meat soon, I'm going have to go on a killing spree or something. Yeah, I know what you mean. Each time I look at him, I just want to. Yugao-chan, Anko-chan, please, we can't treat Naruto-kun like that. Nai-chan, you want him more than we do, so don't bother trying to hide it. Anko hung an arm around Kurenai's shoulder, finger gently tracing Kurenai's ample bosom. So anyways, here's what we're going to do. Inoichi sat up in his bed in a cold sweat. There was an unpleasant sensation coursing through his body, and the Yamanaka patriarch did not like that feeling one bit. His wife blinked groggily. What's the matter, Inoichi? I have a bad feeling. Something bad has happened to my little princess. Huh, Inoichi, it's 4 in the morning. Can't this wait until tomorrow? No, it can't. I think something bad is happening to my princess. Inoichi tried to shake off the uneasy feeling, but the sensation persisted, so he got out of bed and walked over to Ino's room, dreading what he was about to find. He slowly opened the door and took a peek inside. The room was empty. With a roar of outrage, Inoichi rushed into the street looking for Ino. It was then that 2 ear-splitting cries echoed throughout Konoha. Oh God! Naruto! Ino Hime! Inoichi paled and fainted. The next day, when Ino and Naruto rolled into Tsunade's office with the largest shit-eating grins ever, Tsunade was immediately on alert. So what happened? Sniff, sniff, my young kid and his vixen have finally given into their perverted side. What does that mean? Tora snorted. So you didn't hear these two lovebirds last night? Tsunade's eyes widened. That was you two screaming last night. Naruto turned red in embarrassment while Ino shivered in delight at the memory. However, before anyone could say anything else, the door burst open, and a haggard Inoichi stumbled into the office. Inoichi swept his eyes over the room, his eyes finally settling on Naruto. You. Somewhere in the back of Inoichi's mind, his logical side was frantically trying to remind Inoichi that he was confronting possibly the strongest shinobi ever, but the overwhelming urge to protect his precious princess overrode any possible logical thought processes. Hi there, Yamanaka-san. Pretty nice weather today, huh? Inoichi sputtered before rushing forward with a kunai in hand, killing intent leaking out in abundance. Naruto was paralyzed by the fierceness of the enraged father, and would have been skewered if Ino hadn't stepped in Inoichi's path, flaring her own killing intent. Daddy, what the hell do you think you're doing to my Naru-kun? Inoichi sputtered. But princess, he stole your innocence. As your father, I can't let him continue to do this to you. A tick mark grew over Ino's forehead. You stupid jerk. I gave myself to Naru-kun, and it was the best 7 hours of my life. The reactions of those in the audience varied greatly. Tsunade blushed bright red while Tora wiped some drool from her chin. Shizune was whispering, 7 hours, and Jiraiya pulled out a notebook and started writing while Kyuubi peeked over his shoulder, whispering ideas. Inoichi fainted once more, frothing at the mouth. When Inoichi regained consciousness, he immediately tried to throttle Naruto, but was repelled by Ino's kick to the face. Daddy, if you can't control yourself, then get out before I tell Mom. Inoichi left Tsunade's office, sulking and throwing death glares at Naruto. After a moment of silence, Tsunade spoke up, avoiding eye contact with Naruto. I don't have any missions for you, so just stay out of trouble or something. Got it, Bachan. Tsunade threw a pen at Naruto, but when the pen made contact with the blonde's forehead, he exploded into smoke and disappeared. Naruto oh. At the entrance to the Akatsuki base, Zetsu stood in front of the other feminized Akatsuki members. It was just about time for them to head out to invade Konoha. By the way, Zetsu, I was wondering. What happened to that weird plant thing on your head? Without it, you look normal, kind of cute. Zetsu fought off the light blush. Shut up, Deidara. The plant was a part of the other me. Fortunately, I've gotten rid of that ugly head ornament. So you won't be eating us while we sleep. That's relief. Zetsu threw a kunai at Kisame, who blocked it with Samahata. Leader watched this all and put his head in his hands. Why is it so hard to run an evil organization dedicated to world domination? Tired of the bickering, Itachi pulled out a stick of Pocky and started to munch. In Kumogakure, the Raikage held a scroll in his trembling hands. Konoha had gained a power too great to oppose in the form of Namikaze Naruto. The former Jinchuriki apparently had absorbed the power of the Kyuubi and was strong enough to turn back the combined forces of Orochimaru and Akatsuki. That sort of strength made it imperative to reconcile with and re-establish good relations with Konoha, or eliminate this new potential threat. If the fiery Hokage ever felt like going to war to relieve some stress, Kumo would be one of the first villages on the strike list. So now, the Raikage was busy trying to figure out the best course of action to take. Should he attempt to assassinate Namikaze and shift the balance of power once more, or should he swallow his pride and request a treaty? The answer was clear. He snapped his fingers and a busty blonde instantly appeared at his side. What is it, Raikage-sama? Ah, Yugito-chan, I have a mission for you, effective immediately. Yugito looked over the scroll handed to her once before turning and heading out the door. Understood, Reikage-sama. Once the Nibi Jinchuriki left the office, the Reikage clapped his hands twice, and a large man wielding 8 swords walked into the office. Yo Reikage-sama, how ya doin'? Ya wanna listen to da rap dat I be spewin'? Killer B, shut up. I want you to follow ni Yugito and make sure she completes her mission. My rap will lead me to succeed. And I'll do this without smoking. Shut up and get thee out of here. Meanwhile, Naruto and Ino were walking through Konoha arm in arm, ignorant of the glares being thrown their way. At least Naruto wasn't aware of them. Ino on the other hand seemed to secretly revel in the jealousy that radiated from the streets. Ino, what's up? Why do you look so happy? No reason. Hey Naruto, I have to go work in the flower shop today. Want to come and help? Naruto was about to agree, when he remembered a very important detail. Yamanaka Inoichi was the owner of the Yamanaka flower shop. Yamanaka Inoichi was after his blood. Going to the shop would be a very bad idea. Sorry Ino-chan. I don't think it'd be safe for me to go over to your house anytime soon. Your dad might try to kill me. Back at the Yamanaka household, Inoichi sneezed before tossing a kunai at a training dummy with Naruto's face painted on it. Ino pouted, but gave in to Naruto's desperate pleas. With a long, lustful kiss, Ino bid the blonde farewell and ran off to the flower shop. Before any of the lusty fangirls could jump the blonde, Naruto disappeared from the street in a brilliant white flash. He reappeared by the hot springs in search for his mentors. It was time to get some training done. Too bad his Ero-sensei had other things in mind. Ero-sensei, Ero-sanin. Quit peeking on the women already. After the mass violence during which the great Kyuubi and the legendary Jiraiya were ripped to shreds by an indignant female populace, Naruto faced the dastardly duo. Geez, you two, why do you always have to cause so much trouble? Kyuubi's ears twitched. Did you just say trouble? The pair leapt into the air, miraculously healed from their estrogen-induced injuries, landing on the bridge while standing back to back. Prepare for trouble. Make it double. To protect the world from fugly green spandex. To unite all perverts within our nation. To denounce the evils of tentacle rape and yaoi. To extend our reach to the above. Kyuu. Jiraiya. Team Hentai. Jacks off at the speed of light. Read now or prepare to fight. Kiba. That's right. Arf arf. Naruto's sweat dropped. There were too many things wrong with what had just happened. Kiba, what the hell are you doing with those two stupid perverts? Brat, Kiba here is my new apprentice. He has shown great potential for perversion, so Kyuubi-sensei decided to let him join our group. So Kiba knows all about Ero-sensei, then? Kiba nodded. Even the reason behind the attack on Konoha. Kiba nodded. And he's fine with that. Kiba nodded once more. Naruto sighed. Konoha was getting stupider and stupider in this time of peace. Maybe they needed another invasion force to attack them, just for the hell of it. A mass murderer would be exciting as well. On the road to Konoha, Itachi sneezed, spraying bits of chewed up Pocky into Zetsu's hair. Zetsu turned her head and snarled. Back at the hot springs, Kyuubi and Jiraiya were trying to convince Naruto to join their team, but Naruto wasn't listening. Enticing offers of spying on beautiful women were spurned when Naruto pointed out that he already had a girlfriend. Kiba and Akamaru did their part in trying to convince the blonde to join their cause. Finally, enough was enough for Naruto. Gathering chakra, he executed his famous pervert killing attack. Oryoke no Jutsu. In a puff of smoke, Naruto transformed into his buxom counterpart and seductively winked at Team Hentai. The resulting nosebleed rocketing from their noses propelled them into the sky. It looks like Team Hentai's blasting off AGAIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIIII.
Naruto smirked and turned to walk away, but came face to face with 3 extremely beautiful kunoichi. One of them reminded him of the creepy examiner from a long time ago. Ga. Before he could run away or use Hiroshin, Enko shot snakes from her sleeves, which wrapped all around him, restricting his movements. Oh, Naru-chan, you weren't thinking of running away, were you? Of course not, Enko-chan. That's good to hear. Kurenai-sensei. What are you doing here? We're here to make you ours, Naru-kun. Who are you? The purple-haired kunoichi smiled. My name is Azuki Yugao. Hopefully we'll get to know each other. Enko leaned forward and whispered into Naruto's ear, her hot breath sending shivers down Naruto's spine. We want to get to know you much better, Naru-chan. Naruto gulped and allowed the trio to take him away. When the 4 left, Sasuke stepped out of the shadows, Sharingan fully activated. Dobi, I have copied your greatest technique. You will be powerless when I turn it against you. And then I'll finally have my way with you, Kukuku. 77 septillion 777 sextillion 777 quintillion 777 quadrillion 777 trillion 777 billion 777 million 777,777. That's chapter 7, hot off the press. Before we get to voting and all that fun stuff, it's time to introduce a new segment to this series. Omake time. Naruto turned red in embarrassment while Ino shivered in delight at the memory. However, before anyone could say anything else, the door burst open, and a haggard Inoichi stumbled into the office. Inoichi swept his eyes over the room, his eyes finally settling on Naruto. You. Out from nowhere, Shino shushined into the office with behind a turntable. Naruto summoned a microphone from a scroll. Soulja Boy tell I got this new dance fo y'all called the Soulja Boy. Inoichi shouted, you gotta punch den crank back 3 times from left to right. Inoichi let out a feral scream, Soulja Boy up in dis ho. Watch me crank it. Watch me roll. Watch me crank dat Soulja Boy. Den Superman dat ho. Ino walked up to Naruto and began to grind against him. Inoichi saw this and fainted. Now watch me Jiraiya. Crank dat Soulja Boy. Now watch me Kyuubi. Crank dat Soulja Boy. Now watch me Jiraiya. Crank dat Soulja Boy. Now watch me Kyuubi. Crank dat Soulja Boy. Tsunade looked on, dazed and confused. Soulja Boy up in dis ho. Watch me crank it. Watch me roll. Watch me crank dat Soulja Boy. Den Superman dat ho. Tora cut in, sandwiching Naruto in between Ino and her. Now watch me Jiraiya. Crank dat Soulja Boy. Now watch me Kyuubi. Crank dat Soulja Boy. Now watch me Jiraiya. Crank dat Soulja Boy. Now watch me Kyuubi. Crank dat Soulja Boy. Soulja Boy up in dis ho. Watch me lean and watch me rock. Superman dat ho. Then watch me crank dat Robocop. Super fresh. Now watch me jock. Jocksin on dos haters man. When I do dat Soulja Boy, I lean to the left and crank dat thang. Now I'm jocksin on yo bitch. And if we get to fightin', den I am coaching on yo bitch. You catch me at yo local party. Yes, I crank it every day. Haters get mad cuz I got me some bathin' apes. From Crank Dat by Soulja Boy. Naruto stopped for a moment. What the hell does all that mean? Ino shrugged. Who knows? No straight man in Konoha, not even Guy or Lee, could ever honestly admit to never having harbored impure fantasies involving any of the kunoichi trio Mitarashi Anko, Yuahi Kurenai and Azuki Yugao. They were the former crushes of the older generation,
and the idols of the younger generation. Therefore, when the men of Konoha saw all three walking through town with Naruto in their arms, they all fell down on their hands and knees, praising the blonde for achieving the impossible. They were all envious of the blonde, but who would be able to compete with the son of the Yondaime and the strongest shinobi in all of Konoha? Not even Ino could save Naruto from the clutches from the three seductresses when they crossed paths, although the small smirk that Ino wore on her face seemed to hint at a hidden happiness at the sudden turn of events. Hey, Naru-chan, let's check out this store. But that's a lingerie shop. I can't go there. Oh, don't be so shy, Naru-chan, let's go in already. I can't wait to try out some new bras. With that, the kunoichi dragged a sputtering Naruto into the lingerie shop. When they got inside, Naruto plopped himself into a chair while the trio busied themselves searching for the smallest possible underwear. He heard some giggling in the corner, and wasn't surprised to see Jiraiya, Kyuubi and Kiba hiding behind a rack of clothing. What are you perverts doing around here? Ah, my former apprentice, it seems that you have finally given in to your perversion. To think that I would live to see this day. Yes, and I didn't even need to do any mind altering when I left your body. What the hell? You could have done that. Kukuku, does that make you feel uncomfortable? I could have turned you into a emo boy, and you wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Granted, I wouldn't show my face to the world anymore, but you get the idea. Quote. Anyways, Naruto, you here to peep on the bitches here? We're here to test out Jiraiya sensei's new jutsu. Naruto slapped his forehead with the palm of his head. Konoha was steadily slipping into idiocy during this time of peace. Man, we need something crazy to happen, like an invasion, or a secret plot to keep us on our toes. Several people nearby Konoha sneezed simultaneously and looked at one another. Killer Bee's sneeze alerted Yugito to his position. The Nibi container whirled around to face her fellow Jinchuriki. Killer Bee, why the hell are you following me? Does the Raikage not believe that I can complete this mission? Yo, Yugito. Yugito sighed. At least he didn't rhyme her name with ho, this time. You know what? I don't care anymore. Follow me or whatever, but I am going to get this job done. Right yo, Yugito. Meanwhile, back at the lingerie shop, Naruto was still trying to get Team Hentai to leave the store, but to no avail. Kyuubi and Jiraiya were giggling at the see-through panties while Kiba and Akamaru were biting holes in the bras. Naruto was powerless against the combined forces of perversion and was about to give up when three curtains opened simultaneously. Out stepped Anko, Kurenai and Yugao looking like a trio of goddesses who had dropped down to the mortal realm. Anko walked over to Naruto, barely covered dangerously swaying back and forth, and put a finger under his chin. You like what you see, Naru-chan? Naruto dumbly nodded. If you're nice to us for the rest of our little date, we might show you something even better. Her voice trailed off, leaving no doubt as to what Anko, Yugao and Kurenai would be showing Naruto. Kurenai-sensei, I never knew you were so hot. Yugao-chan, you've grown since I last saw you. Why don't you let Jiraiya-sama take some measurements? So that's what they look like under the fishnet, very interesting. Kurenai, Anko and Yugao ignored the perverts and continued to fawn over the embarrassed Naruto, much to the shock of Team Hentai. Naruto, what the hell? I heard about how you have to restore your clan, but to get these three hot women at once, and one of them is Kurenai-sensei. Kiba got down on his hands and knees and prostrated in front of the blonde while Jiraiya and Kyuubi cried manly tears of joy. Kyuubi-sensei, it seems as if our dear apprentice has surpassed us all. Indeed, Jiraiya-kun, to achieve the legendary foursome with the three beauties of Konoha at his age is truly incredible. Kyuubi-sensei, We must recruit our dear Naruto-kun to our cause and have him teach us his secrets. The normally demure Kurenai lost all of her embarrassment and flared an amazing amount of killing intent, easily paralyzing Team Hentai. If you dare turn my Naru-kun into a pervert like you three, I will castrate you all with a pair of wooden chopsticks and then cast a genjutsu on Akamaru and have him eat them raw. Do you understand? Behind Kurenai, the aura of righteous feminine fury swirled about dangerously. Team Hentai gulped in unison before running out of the shop at a speed that put the Hiroshin to shame. Team Hentai's running off again. Naruto sighed in exasperation before turning back to face Kurenai, Yugao and Anko. Kurenai had regained her previous shy demeanor and blushed a brilliant shade of red. About that, Naruto chuckled, and Kurenai's blush deepened. Anko and Yugao merely grinned, seeing their friends' reactions to Naruto. They were going to have so much fun with this later. Later, after the group left the shop, Naruto decided to ask the question that had been on his mind ever since the three kunoichi had dragged him off. Okay, it's time for you three to tell me the truth. Why are you doing this? I know that there are lots of girls out there chasing me, but you girls don't seem the type to be blindly chasing around some guy just for the hell of it. Anko was the first to speak up. You have really tasty blood. The other three sweat dropped, and Kurenai decided to intervene. Naruto-kun, when I first saw you at the academy, I didn't think much of you, to be honest. Then during the Chunin preliminary exams, when you fought Kiba, nobody except for Hinata gave you a chance. But you proved them wrong, and even though I was upset that my student lost, it made me smile that you were able to grow stronger. Then, when you fought Neji and won through sheer determination, I saw your face shine that day, and I've been watching you ever since. Naruto nodded and turned to Yugao. Instead of speaking, Yugao pulled out her Anbu mask and handed it to Naruto, who looked at it with wonder on his face. Neko-chan. Yugao nodded, tears glistening in her eyes, and gave him a hug. Yes, Naru-kun, it's me. I've always wanted to reveal myself to you when you were a child, but I couldn't as an Anbu. But now, I don't have to hide my identity anymore. Naruto returned the hug, softly sobbing into Yugao's shoulder. I always tried asking Oji-san about you, but he would never tell me who you really were. I thought I'd never be able to find the Anbu who had watched over me when I was younger. Yugao pulled back, with visible shock on her face. You knew I was there. Naruto grinned and nodded in response. However, before anyone could say anything else, a white messenger bird flew overhead, catching the attention of the group. It was a summoning for all kunoichi, a rare occurrence. Well, it looks like we'll have to continue our fun some other time, Naruto. Yugao planted a sweet kiss on his lips while Anko and Kurenai each took care of a cheek. As Naruto watched the kunoichi trio head back to the Hokage's office to answer the summons, he overheard Kurenai's furious whisper. Yu-chan, why did you get to kiss him on the lips? Outside the village gates, Zetsu was just about ready to kill one of the other Akatsuki members. Their inability to handle the extra estrogen in their systems had resulted in several unplanned for delays on their path to Konoha. Itachi had bitch-slapped Deidara for stealing his nail polish, while Sasori suffered through PMS. However, their success in infiltrating Konoha depended on their ability to not raise suspicion within the village, so Zetsu forced herself to calm down and put a smile on her face before heading into the gate. Azumo and Katetsu never really enjoyed their guard duties at the gates, so when a group of foreign women walked through the gates, the Chunin duo didn't really give a damn. If they were plotting the destruction of Konoha, Naruto would stop them in their tracks. Hell, he might convert one or two of the women into Konoha shinobi after he was done working his magic. As the group of women ambled into the village to search for their target,
Azumo and Katetsu turned back to the two pamphlets that they had been poring over. Green beasts or team hentai, huh? Meanwhile, Naruto was headed back to his clan compound, when a familiar figure stepped in his path, blocking the road. Naruto slapped a hand on his forehead and sighed in exasperation. What do you want now, Tem? Fight me. Huh, you heard me, Dobi. I challenge you to a fight, right here, right now. Sasuke, we're in the middle of the road, we can't fight here. HMPH, that doesn't matter. With this move, I shall defeat you and restore pride to the Sharingan and the Uchiha clan. Sasuke made a hand seal and started to gather chakra. Naruto's eyes widened in disbelief. Where the hell did Sasuke Tem learn this jutsu? Oryoke no jutsu. With a poof of smoke, Sasuke transformed into a black-haired woman with only wispy clouds covering her sensitive areas. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, ready to fight back the wave of perversion that the jutsu was supposed to evoke. When he took his first look at Sasuke, he nearly choked in surprise. What the hell is that? You look so ugly, Tem. Sasuke scowled. He had copied the jutsu perfectly, and yet the Dobi was standing there, laughing at him. This was an outrage to his Uchiha pride and honor. Shut up, Dobi. A loser like you cannot even begin to comprehend the greatness of the Uchiha. Bow down to my supreme techniques. Shut the hell up, you gay asswipe. Tora flew through the air and kicked Sasuke in the face, shutting the bastard up and undoing the jutsu at the same time. She stalked over to the Uchiha heir and kicked him square in the balls before turning back to Naruto. Don't you ever let that ugly bitch try to seduce you ever again, you hear me? She grabbed his head and yanked it towards her before engaging the blonde in a fierce lip lock. Naruto gasped in surprise, and Tora took the opportunity to slide her tongue into his mouth while wrapping her arms around his broad, muscular back. As the two continued to dance the vertical tango, the female Akatsuki members were watching from behind a nearby bush. Zetsu observed the pair with gleaming eyes. Soon, Naruto, soon you will get what you deserve. Over in Lee's dojo, Lee and Guy were interviewing their first applicant for the Konoha Green Beasts, Sai. Yash, what do you think of us, the wonderful green beasts of Konoha? Sai smiled and thought back to earlier when he had called Sakura ugly. Apparently, noisy people liked it when you lied to them. That meant, yes, I think that you two are the most handsome of all the men in Konoha. Sai finished the declaration with a thumbs up and a vacant smile. Lee and Guy shed silent tears while immediately inducting Sai into their fraternity. In Demon Country, a white-haired priestess lay in bed, violently squirming about and letting out small moans. Outside her room, her bodyguards rolled their eyes. It looked as if she and Sama was having another one of those dreams again. After letting out an ear-splitting scream tore through the afternoon atmosphere, Shion sat straight up in bed, sweat pouring from her delicate forehead. She looked down at her soaked bed and sighed. It looked as if her maid would have to change her sheets again. She looked out of her room with unfocused eyes. These dreams must be telling me something about what the future holds. She removed her sleepwear and stared at her shapely figure in the mirror before giggling and blushing. Soon, Naruto-kun. Soon I'll have you keep your promise to me. After all, that's your Nindo, right? I think it's about time I take a visit to Konoha. Outside her room, her bodyguards felt a chill run up their spines. Their charge had an idea, and it would mean more work for them. A collective thought passed through the group. How troublesome. Back in Konoha, Shikamaru was lying about on the grass, staring at the clouds when he let out a tremendous sneeze. Unfortunately for the lazy genius, his favorite nap spot happened to be right next to a popular swimming pond, one that was currently occupied by several scantily clad kunoichi. Alerted to his presence,
the women proceeded to mercilessly beat him down. After the indignant Kunoichi stalked off, Shikamaru lay there, bloody and bruised, with one thought running through his mind. Troublesome women. When Tora first attacked Naruto and engaged him in a passionate makeout session, the former Jinchuriki's brain shut down momentarily. He was brought back to reality as he felt Tora eagerly licking his lips, begging for entrance. As he mechanically opened his mouth, his mind worked furiously, trying to figure out what was happening. What the hell is going on? She's always been violent and rude, albeit somewhat clingy. He broke away from the brunette and stared into her eyes. Tora, are you feeling alright? Why are you doing this? Tora was silent for a moment, but before Naruto could repeat his question, she spoke up in a surprisingly quiet voice. Why do you think I'm doing this? Naruto was caught flat-footed at this demure Tora. Her fiery allure was replaced by a gentler, softer beauty that made Naruto's breath hitch in his throat. Wow, she's gorgeous. Tora blushed under Naruto's stare, but not from embarrassment. Balling her fist, she punched Naruto in the stomach before running away, shouting over her shoulder. Naruto, you asshole. What the hell is your problem, shitface? Naruto fell to the ground, gasping for breath. As he tried to recover, he heard a sultry voice whisper in the air. Namikaze-sama, it's a pleasure to meet you. Naruto turned to see a group of 5 women giggling and waving in his direction. While they were all attractive women, something about them seemed rather odd, as if something was slightly wrong with them. There's something strange about these 5, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Sensei. There is something strange about this situation here. There are 5 beautiful women here, but my pervert senses are barely tingling. Indeed, my dear Jiraiya-kun. There is something strange about this situation, but I can't put my finger on it. Yeah man, I can't quite get a lock on their scent. Akamaru says he's having trouble as well. Man, this sucks. Don't worry about it too much, Kiba-kun. Your nose will prove necessary to the realization of our goals. However, perhaps this is an opportunity for our newest member to prove his worth. Indeed, I shall show that fate has ordained that I will be the one to uncover this mystery. These women must know their place before the power of the Byakugan. Jiraiya, Kyuubi and Kiba waited while Neji inspected the group of women with his Byakugan. After a moment, Neji turned to the eagerly waiting group and smirked. It appears that it is Naruto's fate to be surrounded by men disguised as women. We should retreat now before it is too late for us. But Neji, what about my dear former apprentice? Neji-kun is right, Jiraiya-kun. There is nothing we can do to help Naruto. The brat's survival all depends on if his perversion powers are strong enough to allow him to break through the disguise of these gay men. With that, Team Hentai headed off in the direction of the Anbu headquarters to peek on the female changing room. Meanwhile, Naruto was still trying to determine the identity of the mysterious women. Let's see, they're wearing black kimonos with red clouds, one of them has the Sharingan. Wait a second, I thought Itachi went loco and killed all of the Uchiha. Well, I have no idea who they are, so. Naruto was jarred from his thoughts when a familiar voice piped up. Hey there, Uchiha babe, why don't you and I do the nasty to restore our clan right now? Sasuke Tem, where the hell did you come from? I've been here all this time, Dobi. Anyways, you're annoying me, so go away. Oh, Naru-kun, I'm sorry that things cannot work between the two of us, but I have found someone else. You must learn to move on like I have. Wait a second, what the hell am I thinking? Naruto ignored the uneasy feeling that settled in his spine as he watched the female Uchiha stare at Sasuke in shock and horror. Sasuke, what the hell is wrong with you? It doesn't really surprise me that you're gay, but you're an incest freak as well.
I thought father and I taught you better than that. Huh. Oh. Me sideways. Before Sasuke could comply with the request, there were 4 loud puffs, and the Akatsuki members were once again revealed in all of their glory. Sasuke stared at Itachi with a mix of horror and hatred. What did you do with that vision of Uchiha loveliness? Sasuke, that was me in a jutsu. You lie. Now tell me, what did you do with the Uchiha woman? Are you stupid? Sasuke inwardly screamed in frustration. Why the hell was his stupid brother always getting in his way, first by being the better one, then by killing their parents, and now by stealing away the love of his life? Sasuke was about to challenge Itachi to a fight when he remembered the other Akatsuki members with Itachi. They might be troublesome and try to interfere with the fight, not that it would bother Sasuke too much, but one of them might accidentally hurt Itachi, which would lessen the glory of his victory. Thus, with a final smirk, Sasuke shushined back to the Uchiha compound. Following the departure of Sasuke, the Akatsuki members looked at one another quizzically. The seal wasn't supposed to wear off so easily. Maybe something was wrong with the design. They'd have to ask leader about that later. They looked over at the still female Zetsu, who was snarling at the blank-faced Naruto. Alright, let's fall back. Our mission has failed. Okay, but Zetsu, why are you still a woman? Zetsu threw a withering glare back at Kisame before sinking down into the shadows. As the others followed suit, Naruto heard Sasori whisper to Itachi. It looks like Deidara is still a woman as well. Naruto shrugged his shoulders and headed back towards his new compound. Things were getting stranger and stranger. Hopefully, he'd be able to reach his house without anything else happening. He needed a good dose of Inohime to recover from the stresses that had built up. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. Yosh. If it isn't the youthful Naruto-kun. Naruto facepalmed and continued to walk towards his house. Hopefully they would get the hint and leave. Oh, his hipness is too much for me, Guy-sensei. Guess not. He's pretty hot. Indeed, it is as my daughters have said. The son of Minato truly is full of youthful vigor. What the hell? Naruto turned to face a quartet of green-clad shinobi. Guy and Lee were no surprise, but Naruto nearly choked on his spit when he saw Sai and Hiashi standing, sporting bowl cuts and large, gleaming smiles. Both were also sporting the green beast spandex, although the ankle weights were replaced by leg warmers. Hiashi spoke up. Ah, Namikaze-san, I take it that you are surprised by our appearances. I assure you that we mean no harm here. Indeed, we were hoping that you would come join our cause. My most unyouthful nephew has decided to fraternize with a group of most unyouthful shinobi. I have taken up arms with Guy-san in order to return Neji back to the Hyuga ways. If the eyes of the Hyuga were to fall into the hands of the powers of perversion, the dignity of the Hyuga clan would be lost forever. Naruto nodded, not really understanding what the Hyuga clan head was saying. In fact, most of his mental faculties were offline, thanks to the actions of the green beasts. Finally, his self-preservation instincts kicked in, and he activated the Hiroshin before anything else could happen, leaving a still ranting Hiashi in his wake. Naruto arrived at his compound in a brilliant white flash with a sigh of relief. Finally he could get some rest. Or maybe Ino could comfort him. Naruto giggled as he thought of exactly how Ino could comfort him. He opened the door and stepped in with a smile on his face. Naruto. What's Ino doing here? Ah, maybe she was waiting for me here so that she can give me some love. Oh man, I can't wait. Ino-chan, here I come. Naruto rushed towards Ino with his arms outstretched, only to crash face first into Ino's fist. Naruto flew backwards from the force of the blow and looked at Ino with tears in his eyes. Ino-chan. Naruto,
Why? Huh? Why are you so popular with everyone? Ino, you aren't making any sense. Flashback. Tsunade sat in her office, trying to stave off the newest headache, thanks indirectly to Naruto. She held 3 letters in her hand. One by one, the summoned kunoichi trickled into the room. Finally, after Anko slithered in with a stick of dango in hand, Tsunade cleared her throat to get everyone's attention. Okay, I'm just going to get this out of the way, because I know things will get worse if I put this off any longer. I know that many of you are interested in Namikaze Naruto. At this, many of the kunoichi blushed various shades of red. Tsunade ignored the love-struck kunoichi and continued as if she didn't notice. I have in my hand letters from 3 princesses, Haruna from the Greenery Country, Toki from Bird Country and Yukie from Spring Country. Each of them have expressed a great interest in visiting Konoha. I took a look into their previous involvement with Konoha, and guess what? Namikaze Naruto just happened to be on the escort squad for each of the 3 princesses. The reports from each of the missions all state that the princesses have all shown great interest in Naruto. The kunoichi shuffled their feet nervously. They could compete against fellow kunoichi, but fighting over a man with royalty was simply asking for suicide. They'd have to think of a new strategy if Haruna, Toki and Yukie were seriously after their blonde heartthrob. Tsunade smirked at the uncomfortable squirms from the kunoichi. Well, I suppose I don't have to tell you what that means. I expect you all to behave with decorum in a way that will not strain our relations with any of the countries that the princesses come from. Oh, and they should be arriving later today, so I expect you all to be on your best behavior, or else I'll have you all cleaning out the Inazaka dog compound. I heard that Inazaka Kiba has taken apprenticeship with Jiraiya. End flashback. So I guess this is it, Naruto. The time we spent together was short, but nice. Even when you're with those 3 dream princesses, don't forget me. Alright, Naruto. Quote. Ino turned towards the door and began to head out, but Naruto's voice stopped her in her tracks. Baka, did you think that I'm going to let you go, just like that? Ino, you're a princess in my world. You have shown me a kindness that I can never repay. I want you to stay by my side forever, Ino-chan. With tears in her eyes, Ino leapt into Naruto's arms. The anxiety that had built up in her stomach over the past few hours was gone. Ino eagerly sought out Naruto's lips with her own, and soon the 2 young blondes were kissing one another with fiery passion. Ino was so caught up in Naruto's ministrations that she didn't notice Naruto pick her up and carry her to the bedroom. After 4 hours of noisy, raunchy, Ino stumbled out of the Namikaze compound limping slightly, but wearing a large shit-eating grin. It didn't matter that the princesses were coming. Hell, maybe Naruto would let her join in now and then for some more fun. Inside the compound, Naruto lay in bed, exhausted when he spotted a scroll on the nightstand. Its contents were simple. Brat, come to my office right away. Tsunade. When he got there, an irate Tsunade scowled at him. Alright brat, I have a mission for you. 3 princesses from various countries have decided to visit Konoha. It's your job to protect and escort them during their visit here. So Yukie Haim, Haruna Haim and Toki Haim are all coming to visit, huh? I can't wait to see them. Ino's told you about it then, I'm guessing. Tsunade glanced into her crystal ball and smirked. Well, it looks like all 3 of them are gathered at the village gate. Why don't you go down them and greet them? As Naruto walked out of the office, he heard Tsunade call out to him. Remember to use protection, Naru-chan. The idea of having little Narutos run around Konoha is scary enough. We don't want the same thing happening everywhere else. Naruto tripped on his feet and fell to the ground, blushing. Meanwhile, Yugito and Killer Bee were still on the path towards Konoha. Yugito was doing her best to control her temper and not maim her traveling companion. Hey Yugito, I have a new rap for you. Don't want to hear it? Here goes. Yo, my name's Killer B. I'm a shinobi as ya can plainly see. This is a challenge to you from me. But first, let's take a break, cuz I need to pee. Yugito's knee to the groin cut off Killer B. Could he finish the rap?